What's up guys, C2113 here, and yes, I do need a haircut, but today I want to give you a word of warning when it comes to cases for your Galaxy Z Fold 3 that use adhesive. Alright guys, so today I'm coming at you from behind the camera, but I think it makes more sense for this video so you guys can really see what's going on and I can explain things a little better. Now before I get into this, I just want to make it clear, if you want to skip around, timestamps are in the description below, and also the chapters feature should be working so you can skip to whatever section you want to see. Because in every single video where I'm explaining something, or I'm giving you guys a how-to or a guide on how to do something, I always get the same comments. Oh, you talk too much, get to the point. So I want to make it clear. I'm allowing you guys to skip, and I want you guys to skip to any section that you want if you don't want to hear the explanation. However, there is in fact a reason why I explain things thoroughly, and it's not just to pad out my video to make it 10 minutes. It's to make sure that for those that don't understand what's going on, by the end of that explanation, they do, so they're less likely to make a mistake, to damage their stuff, to mess up whatever it is I'm trying to explain. Basically, I just want to make sure the most people possible understand what's going on. Now, if you're ahead of the game and you understand exactly what I'm talking about before the words even come out of my mouth, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you're that person, please skip ahead to wherever you think you've already figured out, because I don't want you guys to waste your time if you don't think you need to hear the explanation. But anyway, let's get into the background of the issue. So first off, we need to talk about the Z Fold 3, and particularly those sold in markets like the US and I believe the UK as well. Basically, any market that has millimeter wave 5G as either on the way or already being sort of implemented by carriers is going to have this particular iteration of the Z Fold 3. So on the Z Fold 3, I've already got this case on my phone, unfortunately, but I will be showing images on screen to sort of highlight where I'm talking about. But on the side here, and this is the side with the power button and the volume rocker, just above the volume rocker, you're going to have a plastic cutout. Now that plastic cutout, which is essentially a milled out hole in the frame that's covered by a plastic cover, is to allow the millimeter wave 5G signal to penetrate. Because signals don't pass through aluminum very well, and the antenna needs to be a certain size to pick up those signals. So right above here, and again, only in certain markets, there's going to be a cutout and a plastic cover, similar to the plastic cover that you find on the side of iPad Pros, like this, that allow the Apple Pencil to charge. Now, this isn't a problem, and from what I've seen, it isn't even a durability issue. On its own. If you watch Zach over at Jerry Rig Everything scratch the hell out of it, it's not actually damaged at all, other than just cosmetically, by even a sharp knife and an abrasion like that. So durability wise, on its own, it isn't a problem. However, the problem comes with the reality that most Z Fold 3 cases require adhesive. And that's simply because of the nature and the shape of the phone, that without adhesive, the case halves might still stay on, but they'll slide around. And if you know anything about how abrasion works, abrasion requires movement. So it's inevitable that with any case that's not 100% hermetically sealed, you're going to get dust intrusion. However, even if there's dust intrusion and little particles, if the case isn't moving, the dust really can't do too much damage. But in this instance, there isn't a lot for the case to grab onto because there's two halves, and so there's not one solid chunk of foam, right? And so as a result, the cases will slide around back and forth and cause a lot of abrasion damage in a very short period of time due to the little particles and things that make it into the case. So that's why the adhesive is there. So you say, well, what's the problem, right? Here's the problem. Cases that have adhesive, and you can see this is my Tough Armor Pro, which I kind of destroyed in removing, but we'll get to that later. So cases like this have adhesive up here, down here, over here, 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 and maybe even some along here on the side of the screen. That's all fine and good, right? It just holds the case in place. The problem comes because of the adhesive that's right here. Because when we just talked about, right, you've seen those pictures, that millimeter wave antenna cover is right here. And it lines up perfectly with that strong adhesive. And again, even when you put the case on, there's nothing wrong. It goes on fine, doesn't do any damage. The problem comes when you go to remove the case. Because when you do that, most people are gonna have a hell of a time like I did, which is, again, why these ended up getting ripped off. Because in order to really get to the adhesive spots, I essentially had to destroy this part of the case. There was no other way for me to really get access to these adhesive areas. And in my attempts to get the case off, I had to first free this top part and then pull this part away, which most people would do. They would say, oh, okay, I finally freed the bottom, and then bam, you pull that off. Well, the problem is because of that adhesive, that puts an incredible amount of pulling force on that plastic cover, which I almost guarantee they never even thought would be a possibility. And that's reasonable, right? As a manufacturer, you'd say, well, why on earth would anyone put an incredibly strong adhesive on there and then just pull? But they probably didn't plan for the inevitability of people putting cases on their phones and these cases requiring adhesive. So essentially, when you pull the case off, you have a good chance of pulling that cover completely off. And in fact, there's already Reddit posts about this happening. So now I want to talk about two things. First, we're going to talk about what to do if you already have a case on your phone. And second, I'm going to cover what to do if you want to install a case on your phone. So first, what to do if you already have a case on your phone. Well, if you already have a case on your phone like this, if you're happy with it and you have no reason to take it off, don't take it off. Leave the case on your phone, right? But it's probably still going to be a good idea for you to watch the rest of this video just so you can get an idea of what to do when you do want to take it off, or if you do want to take it off, because inevitably there's a good chance that the case is going to get damaged, that you're going to get tired of it, it's going to get worn out, something's going to happen, and you're going to want to pull it off. Or you might want to remove the SIM card. And if you've noticed, almost every single Z Fold 3 case has no way to remove the SIM card without removing the case. And with a conventional case, that's not too bad. But with a case that has extremely strong adhesives attaching it to the phone, it's a little bit more of a problem. So first, if you have a case on, obviously, don't take it off unless you need to. But now let's talk about what to do if you have a case on your phone and you want to remove it. So if you have a case on your phone and you want to remove it or need to remove it for some reason, this is what I recommend. I'm going to use the carcass of the Tough Armor here to explain what I'm talking about. So when this thing is on your phone, you've got two halves, right? You've got your cover screen portion, and then you've got the bottom portion. We're just going to call it the bottom portion, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So the first thing you want to do is remove this top part, because you want to be able to free this section so you can pull this out and sort of bend it back. And in the case of a case like this whole top section will actually come off, making it much, much easier. On this one, because it's connected, you're still going to have to deal with that, but just keep that in mind. Once you're able to slowly free this section, pull that off. And you're probably wondering, well, why did you go gorilla mode and pull the rubber TPU, butylene, or whatever this is off of the case? Well, I'll explain. As you guys are probably aware, the inner display has a protective border that goes all the way around it. That's very important for protecting the edges of the OLED display to prevent damage and also prevent dust from getting underneath. However, with a case like this on, especially this one, which had such a strong overmolding on it, I actually couldn't get to these little areas that the adhesive was on. And so I felt very precarious, putting an immense amount of pressure with my thumbnail, trying to get past that edge, all while I was precariously close to the edge that protects the actual display. So for me, I ended up just ripping this off because I said, you know what, screw it. The case isn't more important than my phone. And so ultimately, as I said, I'll destroy the case instead of my phone. So that's what I did. However, once you free this top part, you're going to want to either remove it or in this case, fold it to the side. Now, once you have that off, you're going to want to make sure that you don't free this adhesive here and then just yank the case off like that, sort of fold it away. Because that's kind of what your natural inclination would be. Oh, well, I got a slab, I got it attached over here, I'm going to just free the adhesive on the top and the bottom and then just fold it away like that. The problem is, inevitably what's going to happen is you're going to be creating a huge tension force on that cover with the adhesive when you do this, and there's a very good chance you'll pull it right out, or at the very least loosen it like I did. What you want to do is to free the adhesive on the bottom part of the case and on the side, and maybe even the top. Once you've done that, you should be able to gently pull the case down and rotate it away like this. Rotate it away from the phone like this. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to be able to do it. And that's why, again, I recommend removing that outer portion if possible. If not, it should be okay. If you do that, instead of applying a pulling force on that cover, which you would do if you tried to pull the case away like this, you're going to be applying a rotational force, which that cover and its adhesive should be much stronger against. It's a similar principle to how command strips work and how they avoid damaging paint on drywall, because the wall is relatively strong to pulling force sort of parallel with its surface, but it's very weak against a direct pulling force perpendicular to its contact with the wall. The same is true here. So if you do that, although nothing's perfect, I would say you greatly minimize the chance that you're going to do any damage to that cover. So that's my recommendation. So now let's talk about what to do. Well, I don't have a case on my phone yet. What do I do now? First, I want to say, don't be scared. You can totally still safely use adhesive-based cases. In fact, I recommend them. As much as I wish there was a solution that didn't require adhesives, the fact is, every good and functional case on the market that I've seen that isn't just some sort of folio case that has one side that clips to the phone and just a flap that goes over like that, uses adhesives. And to me, that's okay, right? The issue is, I really wish they would have known, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a problem. But I also understand that all they got was probably some sort of shape mock-up, and they didn't really know what was actually on the phone, especially with different markets. So here's what you do. It's really simple. Remember, we know about the antenna right here. So you have adhesive in all these different spots, right? What do you do here? Either leave the adhesive backing on there so that it's not sticky, or even better, you can just remove it. Now, I think both work. Depending on what you're going to be doing, it might be better to take it off completely, but at the same time, also the adhesive there with the backing still on it can provide some sort of impact buffer. So, it's up to you what you want to do. However, in terms of the case staying in place, you're going to be fine. There's so much other adhesive on the case on both sides. It's not going to slide around if you don't apply just one section. And that's pretty much it, guys. That's the secret. When you guys get an adhesive case, when it comes to the top right quadrant of the phone's adhesive section, just either don't remove the backer or peel the adhesive off of the inside of the case entirely before you install it. If you do that, you're not going to have any problems and you're not going to risk any damage to that delicate plastic cover over the 5G millimeter wave antenna. Now, I also promised you guys I would explain to you guys what this little piece of paper was about. Well, when I pulled off this case from my phone, I damaged that millimeter wave antenna cover. So for me, it didn't come off completely. It didn't even come off all that much, but it came loose enough where it was lifted and I could feel the ridge of the antenna cover lifting up. So I tried to push it back into place. It would stay for a little while, but it didn't really stick. And my thought was, it's probably the adhesive needs more time to bond. And, just pushing it back into place probably is going to make it hold. So before I put this case on, I slid a little piece of wax paper under there to apply enough pressure. And I left the adhesive on this case in there, but I just didn't remove the backer. So there's actually some, material in there that's protruding out, because otherwise it'd be too hollow, wouldn't put any pressure on there. The combination of the two, and I have been able to, using my fingernail, to pry this out a little bit and then pull the paper out and check. It's actually working. It seems to be pushing the antenna cover back into place. All I can say is that I hope that solves the problem, but for me, I'm probably still going to contact Samsung just because my concern now is just water resistance. As of now, I still can't confirm whether or not that cover being lifted at all affects the water resistance. I want to say it might, but at the same time, I don't know whether that's just a cosmetic thing and maybe there's actually water resistance sealing underneath it, in which case I honestly don't really care. My only concern would be water resistance. So that's pretty much it, guys. Don't do what I did. If you have a case on your phone, follow my instructions. Either don't remove it or try and use my technique if you have to. And if you're going to install one on, just take the adhesive off the top right section and you'll be forever grateful that you never have to go through what I did. So anyway, guys, if you want to check out some cases I recommend, you can check out the links in the description. If you like the video, be sure to give it a like. If you have any questions, comments, or your own terrible experiences with adhesive-based cases destroying your little antenna cover on your Z Fold 3, let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to get subscribed.